To my subscribers, thank you for tuning in once again. If you are new, welcome to JT on the Go. This is part 2 of my 2-part series about the Amtrak Crescent from New Orleans, Louisiana to New York City, New York. If you haven't watched part 1, I recommend that you do that. When you are done, you can come back and watch part 2. It is morning time as we are sitting in Greensboro, North Carolina, our last stop in the state of North Carolina before entering Virginia. Now we are heading into Virginia, the most scenic part of the journey. Like the Superliner cars, Viewliner sleeper accommodations also have complimentary coffee. Here is where you would make your coffee. It is located at the back of the Viewliner and right in front of the outside bathroom and shower. Both of these are for the Viewliner roomette passengers. Coffee, creams and sugars, cups and lids all ready to go. Back in the room, breakfast was served. Once again, I ordered the buttermilk pancakes. These doors are different from Superliner coaches. To open them, it's the same way. You can press the button with your hand or kick the bottom button of the door to avoid getting germs. We are coming into our first stop in the state of Virginia. Danville, Virginia is not far away from the Virginia-North Carolina border. We left Danville and are continuing to New York. The southeastern United States was flat land with forests and swamps. Virginia is a little bit hilly because the Appalachian Mountains cross through Virginia. We are still on time. Looks like Norfolk Southern is being nice to us. The scenery really does look a little different. Our two GE Genesis P42DC locomotives were getting the job done. When we reach Washington, D.C., they will be done hauling this train. There are 2 fresh air stops today, Charlottesville, Virginia, and Washington, D.C. We're now entering Lynchburg, Virginia, our second stop in Virginia. People are getting on the train here. Lynchburg is home to Liberty University. Bye-bye, Lynchburg. When the train enters Washington, D.C.'s Union Station, that not only means that we've entered Amtrak territory, but the rest of the way to New York City from D.C. will be electric. That means the 2 GE Genesis P42DC locomotives will be uncoupled from the train, and a Siemens ACS-64 locomotive will take their place. Let's take a look at our Viewliner bedroom and see what makes it different from the Superliner bedroom. The sink is right next to the door with a charging cord right next to it. Bar of soap. Next to the charging cords are switches to the lights. The switch to the bottom is for the mirror lights. The switch on the top is for the light that lights up the whole room. This chair can be packed for more room like this. To turn it, you press your foot on the bottom switch. Here's how to unpack it. The table can be pulled out and has a more visible chessboard. Below the sink is trash and tissues. As you heard, we are approaching Charlottesville, Virginia. That's the button to call the attendant. Thermostat, air condition, buttons for lights, same thing over here. Here is the closet where you can store your coats, with coat hangers ready for use. This is where the ladder for the top bunk is stored. Another light. The bathroom door has instructions on how to turn the room into a nighttime configuration. Another place to store coats. This cabinet houses tissues and washcloths. Inside is the combination toilet and the shower. That button is to flush. The shelf in the back is where you will find towels and bars of soap. Here is the shower. Controls to start it and switch it to the temperature of choice. Down here is some toilet paper. It is protected from getting wet by the shower. The Viewliner bedroom has more storage than the Superliner bedroom, on top of the bathroom stall and above the door. The bottom window has a curtain that you can use to block the sunlight. The same thing goes to the smaller window at the top. The way to lock the door is the same as you would lock the door on a Superliner bedroom. There is also a curtain on the door. Charlottesville will be our first fresh air stop for the day. If you are wondering where Monticello is in Charlottesville. Monticello is the home and slave plantation of Thomas Jefferson, our third U.S. president and the author of the Declaration of Independence. So much for that. Some of this land is used for farming. The scenery out here is not that bad. We're approaching Charlottesville. Charlottesville is also where the Amtrak Cardinal from Chicago joins the Crescent route all the way to New York City. The Amtrak Cardinal travels between New York and Chicago. Feels good to get some fresh air. Charlottesville is also served by Amtrak Northeast Regional trains. Northeast Regional trains travel between Washington, D.C. and Boston. But some of them travel farther south of DC to serve other towns in Virginia like Charlottesville. We're now leaving Charlottesville, Virginia. Because the Crescent only has flexible dining, all of the food for the sleeper passengers is served in your room. They just pack meals that can be thrown in the microwave, warm them, and give them to the passengers. Coach passengers have to pay for food in the cafe car. For sleeper car passengers, it is included with your ticket. This is the town of Orange, Virginia. The town has a train station, but guess what? We passed it. By now we were out of the mountains. We've picked up speed. Our next stop is the town of Culpeper, Virginia. The town has a cemetery like Arlington National Cemetery in Washington, D.C. We're now leaving Culpeper.
Next station stop, Manassas. Next station stop, Manassas. 45 minutes. Next station stop, Manassas.
Our last meal on the trip was served. For lunch, they added the hot dog to the menu, so I ordered that. Here is another spot where the cool air comes out. I used this to cool down my batteries to my GoPro. It's not the best idea for cooling batteries that are hot. It's best to let them cool down on their own. We've made a quick stop in Manassas. While we were eating, we passed the southern end of the Virginia Railway Express commuter line. Virginia Railway Express is a commuter train that travels from Washington, D.C. to Board Run in Spotsylvania. We will be traveling on the Manassas line until we reach Washington, D.C. Virginia Railway Express trains run on Mondays through Fridays. That's a good place for train spotting. We passed several VRE stations. We are getting close to Alexandria. There is the DC Metro. We stopped because an Amtrak Northeast Regional train came into Alexandria right before we did and was serving the station. Both the blue and yellow lines on the DC Metro serve Alexandria. Alexandria is also where both the Manassas and the Fredericksburg line of the VRE meet before continuing to Washington, D.C. One of my dad's friends lives in Alexandria. Our next stop is Washington, D.C. D.C. is just on the other side of the Potomac River. In fact, Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport is in Alexandria. We are on CSX territory for a very tiny portion of the journey. The Potomac River marks the border between the state of Virginia and the District of Columbia. When crossing the Potomac River, we can already see some of the sights in Washington, D.C., including the Washington Monument. We came across the Jefferson Memorial. Washington, D.C. will be our last fresh air stop on the journey and is longer than all the other ones. That dome building in the distance is the U.S. Capitol. Washington, D.C.'s Union Station, Amtrak's second busiest station. Several people got off the train here. Let's head to the front to see the engine swap. The train on the right is the Northeast Regional train that was in front of us when we entered Alexandria. It is also getting its P-42DC locomotive swapped off with an ACS-64 before it continues to Boston, Massachusetts, the other end of the Northeast Corridor. Both of our locomotives did a great job hauling our train on time to here all the way from New Orleans. All of the coaches on our train require head-end power from the locomotives that pull them. When the P-42DC locomotives get uncoupled, the train will run on batteries to keep the lights on. However, the air conditioning and the toilets will be suspended until the ACS-64 gets coupled. They are getting started with the uncoupling process. ACS-64 638 will take the train next to us all the way to Boston. Meanwhile, for our train, they are almost done uncoupling. Our P42DC locomotives will probably get assigned to another Amtrak train. Our P42DC locomotives are now leaving the train. Meanwhile, the train next to us is now leaving for Boston. The Northeast Regional is a topic for another video. Back on our train, our ACS-64 arrived and is about to get hooked to the train. ACS-64 670 will take our train from here to New York City. While they're doing that, it's time to get back on board. We are now leaving CSX-owned territory and entering Amtrak territory. At this point, we will have priority over the freight and commuter trains. We made a quick stop at Baltimore's Thurgood Marshall Airport. After Thurgood Marshall Airport is Baltimore's Penn Station. We reached speeds over 100 miles per hour on the Northeast Corridor. Baltimore's Penn Station. Wilmington, Delaware is next. Here's a glimpse at Baltimore, Maryland on the way out. All of this would be better if the sun was out. If you want to see the scenery on the Northeast Corridor when the sun is out, I recommend watching my video about the Amtrak Acela Express from New York to Washington, D.C., where I met Milan Likes Trains from Instagram. Our ACS-64 is doing its part of the Crescent journey so far. ACS-64s are electric locomotives. We're now in Wilmington, Delaware. President Joe Biden got the nickname Amtrak Joe because he is an Amtrak supporter and traveled on over 8,000 round trips on Amtrak from DC to Wilmington, Delaware. He started doing it in 1973 when he was a senator. When Biden became president in 2021, he signed the bipartisan infrastructure law that gave the green light to increase government funding on Amtrak by upgrading bridges, tunnels, power systems, tracks, signals, stations, and other infrastructure on the Northeast Corridor that is over 100 years old. After Wilmington is Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, our only stop in Pennsylvania. The hallways next to the Viewliner bedrooms are narrow. Philadelphia 30th Street Station. Amtrak trains don't stop at stations between DC and Boston for long. We're now heading to New Jersey, and after that, New York City. Outside Philadelphia 30th Street Station are the new Amtrak Avalia Liberty train sets that will take over the Acela Express trains that were launched in the year 2000. They do look cool. They were tested in Pueblo, Colorado during the COVID-19 pandemic. During the making of this series, the Avalia Liberty train sets were not in service. This freight train is slower than us. Now we are in Trenton, the state capital of New Jersey. We are gonna make a quick stop at Metro Park before continuing to Newark. At this point we have Newark, New Jersey, and then New York City. Those people mover tracks go to Newark Liberty International Airport. Manhattan can easily be seen from that airport. This is Newark, New Jersey. The Path Metro and NJ Transit can easily take you to New York City from here. Next stop is New York City's Moynihan Train Hall. I also recommend watching my video about the SL Express from New York to Washington DC to see what the Moynihan Train Hall looks like. I can see the One World Trade Center, which means we are on the outskirts of New York. Newark and New York are right next to each other. Amtrak did it. We arrived right on time. For me, the Crescent is one of my favorite Amtrak long-distance trains. If you enjoyed this series, make sure to leave a like for both parts. Comment, subscribe, and follow my Instagram account for another train video. This is JT on the Go signing off.